This video is brought to you by Scopic.com. Get yours now.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is PhilPhoneCase.com and this is a new iPad. That's what it's called. It's simply called the new iPad. So people decided to call it the 5th generation iPad or the iPad 2017. So whichever you want to call it, this is the latest iPad out of the whole series. There's still an iPad Pro. They're technically still selling the iPad Mini 4, but this is the generic iPad reborn. So what this is basically a remake of the iPad Air 1, the first generation iPad. So it's fairly cheap. When they're recycling their components to build a new one, I usually get mad if they're not cheap enough, but this guy actually is. It starts at $329 and at max it only goes up to $560 with 128 gigabytes with LTE connectivity. So I guess that's a fair trade. Edge component, but a decent price. And here's a manual packet with naturally comes with the manual, quick start guide, warranty card, and of course the pair of Apple stickers. And leaving that behind, here's a little charger. There's a charger and that still tops at 10 watts. So that's not exactly a very fast charger. So it's very likely that it's gonna take a very long time, namely like 3.5 hours to fully charge up your iPad. And when you do that, you use this cable right here. That's a lightning cable, one side with the USB type A and the other side with naturally the lightning port. And that is going to get you a little problem if you're using a laptop with only USB type C port, like Apple's own MacBook or the MacBook Pro, then you'll need a dongle. Hashtag dongle life. So here's a box and we're gonna leave that behind and move on to the tablet itself. So this is the iPad. And there are 3 colors: silver, space gray, and gold, which gold being my least favorite color out of any Apple product all the time. What we have on the front side is a 9.7 inches of a 2048 by 1536 pixels of a display, and this is not laminated, nor does it have the anti-reflection coating on top of it. So this is a bit lower spec than the iPad Air 2 or the iPad Pro 9.7, naturally because this is cheaper, but this is brighter than either of two, so that's one good side. And that's the home button with the Touch ID fingerprint reader, and it's mechanical, it actually presses. Moving on to the right side, we have a volume rocker right there and a lightning port at the bottom with the pair of speakers, and nothing to the side, nothing to the left side. If you have an LTE model, then you will have a nano SIM card tray with the Apple SIM built-in or not. I forgot about that. Anyway, moving on to the top, we have a power key with the secondary microphone for noise cancellation and the older technology 3.5mm headphone jack that Apple wants to kill still there. And that's pretty much it. The rear's got a camera. There's an 8 megapixels of a camera and an Apple logo with the iPad marking on the bottom. And that's pretty much it. Let's move back to the software and try turning it on. And while it does that, the brief specs recap. It's got an Apple A9 chipset, which is pretty recent and still very powerful, and 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs or 128 gigabytes of storage that you can choose out of, and iOS 10.3 to be exact by the time of shipping. It's got a 32.4 watts per hour battery built in, so it can last up to 10 hours by Apple's own statement. Now let's go ahead with the settings. Alright, we're done with the settings and here we are at the springboard, and here's the control center. We can make it brighter, and this is fairly bright, especially for indoors usage. This seems like a pretty good panel. Although this is a 2 pieces of panel, there's a touchscreen panel on top of it and the display is behind it, and it's not the zero gap display, so there's a noticeable gap between the screen and the actual surface. The display looks like this, the settings app looks like this. We all know what iOS has and what it does not, so there's nothing special right there for me to tell you. Aside from a little reminder that it does not have the True Tone display or Apple Pencil port, any kind of those fancy things that the iPad Pro or the iPad Air 2 deserves. Since you could be wondering about the color, here is the silver one, and yes, we do have some extra. Here's a space gray, and of course, gold. That's how they look like. There's them with the Apple logo, and if you're wondering about the front side, the space gray has the black panel, and the gold and silver with the white panel. Gold and silver share the same color, so if you want a more immersive black color, then your only choice is the space gray right here. I guess that's it for the 5th generation iPad. It's got the same weight, same dimensions. I'm not sure about the accessories because it's got the different holes for the buttons and the trigger that the last generation had. So we'll have to give that a try with the older accessories, but you would have saved up some penny thanks to the cheaper nature of the pricing of the latest iPad. So I guess you could just get a new accessories for yourself. So that was a quick look at unboxing at the iPad 5th generation. Thank you always for watching. We'll come back with a review very soon, hopefully. And you can meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. We'll see you guys later. Ciao.